Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
O'Brien wrapped up back in Auto Club for Season 1 and became the first PRL champion in the next-gen cars. His consistency and tenacity continues to be a serious threat to anyone who wants to take the crown. But with the points reset, it all starts here. So will anyone be able to match his impressive pace each week? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Atlanta Motor Speedway may have seen changes in real life recently, but today we will be running the prior version of the circuit. Let's head to our track guide to learn more.
Welcome to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, an iconic staple on the NASCAR Cup schedule since the doors opened back in 1960. Located roughly 20 miles south of downtown in the suburb of Hampton, Atlanta has forged out a spot in history, playing host to some of the most iconic moments in motorsports. Prior to its repave and reconfiguration, Atlanta looked more like modern-day Homestead. In the summer of 1997, Atlanta was reconfigured to the 1.54-mile quad oval it's currently at. After that switch, the NASCAR Xfinity Series and Truck Series also became regular yearly competitors at the track. But it's actually an IndyCar that holds the track record here. The series ran regularly at Atlanta for 4 years. The surface here has certainly worn over time, giving way to its sister track in Texas as the fastest quad oval on the NASCAR schedule. Surface here has not seen any paving since construction finished in 1997. Over the years, the track has become famous for its super close photo finishes, thanks in part to a very wide exit off of turn 4 compared to both Texas and Charlotte. It allows competitors to often exit 2 and even 3 wide with room to spare, and that outside lane can get quite a run to the checkered flag. That's our look at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Enjoy the show.
Well, DJ, they may have sped it up a little bit in real life, but here, even in this version, this is going to be a wicked fast track for these cars.
It's going to be exceptionally fast, and it is going to be very, very tricky, Joe. We've seen a lot of drivers having some problems off the exit of turn 2 and 4. The car's getting very, very squirrely coming off of those. So watch out for drivers slapping the outside wall or losing the car completely. But as they run through the corners here, watch for multiple lanes to be successful, although I have a feeling that the high lane is going to be the more preferred lane around here. But one way or the other, this is going to present a fantastic race for us tonight.
No doubt about that. And this race, of course, is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Today's broadcast is also brought to you by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Cup Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, as for the championship situation thus far, last season, rather, I should say, James O'Brien wound up on top, about 23 points ahead of Josh Daniels in the end. So not a huge margin, but also not terribly small either. And Chris Hudson was about 10 points farther back from him. Then you get a little bit tighter there on down to 4th and 5th with Goodell and Regan Jr. wrapping it up. And Richard Regan Jr. is back again this season. It looks like he was one of those that was pretty quick last season, especially on his day. What about the team's championship, DJ?
Well, it was the second consecutive championship for private label Team Hype, with them being able to take Dirty South Racing to the tune of about 48 points. Car Ramrod a healthy distance back from Dirty South, with private label Team Hype Black about 30 points back of Ramrod, and they were able to distance themselves from Love Racing to the tune of about 20 points.
For today's race, it's going to be a lot of laps around here, 145 of them, and they only have 5 total tire sets to choose from out here. So you got to preserve your stuff over the course of this, because this place is known for chewing them up. It's a fixed setup in this series, as it was last season, and they have no spare cars. So if you damage it, hopefully you can at least keep decent pace, because you need those aerodynamics around this track. 24 incident limit will also cause a disqualification if you find yourself reaching it during the course of this race. Before we get over to qualifying, we want to mention the channel sponsor, the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. And sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more, simply by clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, Majors GSRC, you'll get 10% off on your order. Now, the drivers have finished up the warm-up here. They've got about 3 minutes left, so there still is some time, but generally I think what we're seeing is what we can expect in terms of general pace. And no surprise here, James O'Brien tops the timing sheets, but Trent Dinkle carries on the good performances that he was seeing last season as he's second on that timing sheet. So he is looking good. And then behind that, I see a lot of new names here, DJ. Guys like Cody Evanson, Dan McLaren. That's a good sign for those that want to see a tight championship.
Indeed. Always good to see those new names coming up towards the top of the sheets. As we ride on board with Mark Kalin right now, you can see that little bit of wiggle that he had to fight coming out of turn 4. That's what I was talking about earlier, especially, Joe, as we get into these later long runs. These drivers are going to have their hands full coming off the corners. You can see just a little bit of a wiggle there as well. The coming off of the banking here, it is very, very aggressive, and that is what can throw you off.
As we watch Corey Precker as well, another new driver in this series. So we're going to see his perspective throughout the race as he's going to duck down onto the warm-up lane. And we've also got Ryan Goodell here on screen. Ryan currently sitting in the, I believe, the 8th position in the timing sheets tonight. Still only a little over a 10th away from James O'Brien. It's very, very tight out here, and we'll see if it stays that way in the qualifying. One thing I'm interested in seeing, DJ, is when we watch the Coke Series, which granted is an open setup series compared to this, which is fixed setup. But in the Coke Series, we saw drivers only do a single lap in qualifying, which surprised me then. I'm curious to see if we'll see that single lap, the first lap, be the money lap here, or if they're going to have to build the momentum up.
My gut is going to tell me that they're going to look for a little bit more momentum, Joe, but we'll have to see. That was a surprise for both of us in the Coke Series to see them do that. But I think one way or the other, qualifying may be a little bit crucial here. As we saw in that Coke Series race, it is a little bit difficult to pass around here if the high line is dominant and everybody wants to stay up there.
You can see the temperature is certainly not boding well, because it's 106 Fahrenheit, 41 Celsius. Thankfully not much wind, but it's a little toasty, so it's going to be slippery, especially off of 2 and 4 here today. So hold on to your hats. Hopefully we'll get plenty of green flag racing. I believe this is, this is where we kicked it off for the next gen cars last season. So getting a little bit of that once again here. Last time, though, was their first time out. So they, of course, had a lot of cautions as they got adapted to it and the new drivers. But this time might be a little bit different now that they've had an entire season to get accustomed to these machines and the setups as well. So the session ticks over and the qualifying has begun. They get 2 laps to try and set their fastest time out here, and they have 5 minutes to do so. It looks like some of the first ones going to be guys like the 13 of Jason Larson, and a few others. Zemke is already out on track. Zach Osborne is starting to pick up speed, but this is Larson here on screen. Comes out onto the back stretch and is trying to get himself up to full tilt.
Exactly, and watch for drivers here to take higher lines on this first lap to try to build as much momentum as possible, carry as much speed through the corners as they can before they maybe dive down low to try to maximize the distance from point A, or minimize the distance from point A to point B. And there you go, Larson diving down low there. That's not a line that we're going to see during the race necessarily, but definitely one that we're going to see during qualifying as he gets very, very flirty with the wall.
Was definitely brave enough to get right up against it there on the exit. Not sure if he had to do any tiny little lifts to keep it from really drifting too far out, but the 13 comes out of turn 4. He's going to be the first to set a time. Let's see what kind of marker he puts down. 32.009, and he's immediately beaten as Zach Osborne goes faster, Adam Zemke goes faster, Chris Hudson then goes faster. So Larson not looking too quick here on this first go round. We'll see if the second one does any better for him.
Well, to answer your question from earlier, Joe, it looks like drivers are going to go out and at least try to get this second lap down. Brandon Walter into third place, Pat Harvey into second as times keep coming in on our timing and scoring pylon here. Larson going to come across the line, and he is able to go faster there, but immediately bumped down by Osborne and Christian.
Yeah, about 4/10 quicker on that second lap, so it looks like you do need to try and really get it up to speed as we watch Carlos Romero now. He hasn't set a time yet. This is his first flyer that he's on right now. Comes through 3 and 4, just hugging the middle line, it looks like, through that second half of the lap, all the way out to the wall, and then across. Let's see where he places himself. 31.5 is going to put him into 10th, but now he has to try and kick it up a notch, as wow, really likes to ride high here through 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's a very aggressive line there, and that is to keep up as much speed as possible. By the way, it looked like there that James O'Brien only good enough for 5th place. He is doing a one-and-done lap, it appears. But with Romero, let's see what he has got. We said about 5/6 tenths of a second faster on this second lap, potentially. He's going to cross over the line and not be able to go any faster.
Josh Daniels just took the pole away from Brandon Walter. That's going to bump Richard Regan Jr. onto the second row. So Regan obviously looking pretty quick anyways. We're waiting on Josh Conker to set a time. Looks like he's just now taking off on his laps. He's going to be a fast one and could be a serious threat. Papineau moves into 8th, Leclerc into 20th. Just the last few that need to put one down here.
Dustin Griffith's able to bump his way up into 21st position. Josh riding around there. I think that's the wrong style of racing for that shirt, but we won't hold it too much against him.
Yeah, he can be a NASCAR fan and a Formula One fan, but yeah, just a couple more. There are a few drivers that will not be allowed to qualify. They're given an EOL, so they aren't supposed to go out there. Byron McDonald's, Mark Kalin, not McKalen, Mike Witt, Skip Gandy, and Trent Dinkle will not be allowed out there. And I believe Scotty Johnson, not sure if he is here. Yes, looks like Scotty's here, so he's not allowed to qualify. So a decent number of them are starting at the tail end of the field. The rest of them, though, that haven't set a time have done that deliberately, I guess, trying to put themselves to the back of the grid, kind of Talladega style here. And Josh Conker on his first lap, 31.7. It's only good enough for 26, so hopefully he can go faster on this second time around. He's getting a lot of cloud cover, I will say.
Yes, he is, and oh, disaster there as he smacks the wall. That is going to discount his lap, and Josh Conker only good enough for 26th.
Wow. Okay, then. So interesting stuff. And that is going to end our qualifying as nobody else is able to set a time from here. So let's go through your starting order. Josh Daniels starts it on the pole with Brandon Walter in second. Richard Regan Jr. will be P3. After that, you've got Chris Hudson in fourth and Pat Harvey in P5. James O'Brien, our current champion, starts from six. Abner Acosta will be P7 and Robert Besaw Jr. in P8. Then row 5, Eric Papineau will be flanked by Zach Osborne.
In 11th position, it will be Kerry Graves, followed by Paul Williams with Charles Sumner and Dan McLaren behind them. Carlos Romero will be 15th, and his outside, it'll be Luke Christian with Adam Zemke 17th and Bobby Anderson 18th. 19th will be Waldo Walden, and Ryan Goodell rounds out your top 20.
Jason Larson may have been one of the first ones out, but he was only 21st on the timing sheet. Barry Leclerc will be 22nd. Dustin Griffiths, new name here, starts from P23, along with Ham, another newcomer, in 24th. Corey Precker, another rookie, will start 25th. With the last car to set a time, Josh Conker in 26th position. Bit of a shocker there for him. You've got Cody Evanson, Trent Dinkle, and Mark Kalin, 27th, 28th, and 29th, and then top 30 rounded out by Skip Gandy.
Scotty Johnson will be lining up at 31st, followed by Byron McDonald, Eric Haig, and Mike Witt behind them. Joshua Tellez will be in 35th, followed by Tom Amassi with Jose Medina and Zachary Vaughn in 38th, and Baron Glover will round out the field at 39th.
Got a few onboards. We've already seen a few of them, but let's take a glance here on the grid as Josh Conker, our first up in the 54. We mentioned starting from 26. Not sure how that's going to go for Josh throughout the day, but that certainly puts him on the back foot as we grid up. And there we go. Now we got Josh's camera there. You see the team hype driver getting ready to race here. And then, of course, Jose Romero is going to be another one of our guys, or Carlos Romero, excuse me, is going to be another one of our drivers here today, starting from 15th on that one in the number 48 machine. So he is a little bit farther up the order, just about halfway up the field. And Richard Regan Jr., as we mentioned, who is starting up towards the front in the third position here, giving us a perspective in that number 56 machine. And Trent Dinkle doing very well lately for himself. Starting well down the order, though. 28th, did not set a qualifying time. So he's got some work to do. And finally, Mark Kalin is the last of ours. There's Trent Dinkle and his perspective. And Mark Kalin starting from 29th position, just behind Trent Dinkle. Another one of the drivers that did not set a time in this race, with Terry still behind him, giving us a wave before we step away from his onboard camera. Already into turns 3 and 4. There's and we've got a few more. It looks like Charles Sumner also going to be joining us here today from the 13th position here at the start. All right, pace car getting ready to peel away, and Josh Daniels has the pole position. Wants to make up for missing out on the championship last season. Will he be able to? And the green flag is out. He's on the throttle. Those behind him nearly getting into the back of the front row as they almost over-anticipated that start, but it looks like it's a good one for behind him, Richard Regan Jr. They are stretching away.
Indeed, really starting to pull away there. Regan Jr. trying to maybe think about trying to make a run there on the high side. Behind them, they are 2x2. Walter and Harvey, Hudson and Acosta going down into the corner. James O'Brien just picking a lane there behind them, taking everything nice and easy.
Takes a bit to get up to speed here. Now reaching about 180, 185 miles an hour, and already Regan wants to take the lead away. He's going to duck underneath Josh Daniels. Is that bottom line going to work here now that they're starting to get close to top end? Yes, it will. The 56 is up to the top, but he is close to the wall.
Yeah, you saw him really sawing at the wheel there, just how loose that car was getting off of the corner. Having a lot of difficulty there, keeping it down. Let's see how he handles this now, coming off of 4. If it's going to get that slippery on him, looks a little bit better that time by.
Behind them, that's Pat Harvey in third, but look at the battle behind Harvey. This is Brandon Walter on the high side, Abner Acosta down at the bottom, and we got a caution now. It looks like Carlos Romero, I think. Ooh, and they're still wrecking back there. Ooh, looks to me like, oh, Josh Conker involved in that as well.
Yeah, some big damage there to the 54 machine on the front end of that. You can see it smoking. I think he's got some engine troubles as well. Yeah, that engine's going to blow.
And Romero, I think, may have been due to some connection issues. Not sure that we're really going to be able to get a replay because he blinks in and out. Yeah, you can see kind of missing for part of it. And those behind him, unfortunately, unable to predict where he's going to be, winds up causing quite a big incident. Looks like, yeah, Josh Conker, the first one to run into him. Trying to see who else made contact throughout. Looks like Byron McDonald may be one of them.
Yeah, and it looks like Josh may have caught a little bit from the rear end there. He checked up, and somebody behind him just not really anticipating it.
That's not the start we were looking for, but it did look good other than that one little issue. We're going to take one more glance here. I think this is Byron McDonald coming up on the incidents. Oh, big hit to the right-hand side there. That's it's not McDonald. Who was that we were just watching there? Looks like Baron Glover. Yeah. So the irony is Abner Acosta was complaining he needs to that Romero needs to fix his internet. For those not familiar, Acosta has been the one that's had perhaps the worst connection in a lot of races over the last year or so here in the PRL Cup Series, but he's still running in fifth. So far, his has been looking decent. Let's cross fingers that stays the case.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. And now as we get re-racked here, it'll be interesting to see what Richard Regan Jr. decides to do at this start. We obviously saw Daniels and he get a good jump there. I'm going to be curious to see if they're going to be able to get as much of a jump as they did last time, or if drivers like Harvey and Walter behind them are going to be able to keep close behind.
Yep, and right now, they still have another lap to go around. Not seeing many drivers coming into pit lane other than those that wanted to try and take a bit of damage repair. So mainly just those trying to roll the dice since it's only a couple laps under green. And I believe, yes, lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to get restarted on lap 7.
All right, and so what this means now is that with nobody coming into the pits here, drivers trying to conserve their tires a little bit. Remember, that's going to be a big storyline over the course of this race, is drivers trying to hold on to those tires as much as possible.
All right, already double file. And have we lost any? Looks like Romero's the only one. Josh Conker, actually, though, still having to take repairs. Yeah, Conker might be out. As I look at his car, it looks pretty damaged. And that might take us down to 37 starters or finishers potentially here if we get everybody to the line from this point. So looked like the top line at the start, DJ, wasn't necessarily always the best, but could be something that comes into it as they start to pick up speed. We'll find out if we get a longer run this time by. And pace car is going to peel into the lane. There it goes. Now it's going to be Richard Regan Jr. who has control, and he takes off early as we watch the VR user get a great jump over Josh Daniels. Pat Harvey slotting in the line behind them. Looks like Walter also able to get single file instead. Acosta has to fight with Chris Hudson.
Indeed they do, as there's that first little bit of side-by-side we see there in the back. Hudson doing a good job to keep that car off of the wall. Looks like Acosta's going to slot into line behind them. Not a lot of drivers wanting to go too wide here. I think they're still just feeling out the track a little bit.
Loving that classic petty scheme that he's got on the 43 right now, Chris Hudson. But they all very quickly go single file this time, despite a lot of side-by-side racing last time out throughout all the laps we had under green. And as we look a little farther back towards the 38, Paul Williams trying to use the slingshot off the high side over Zach Osborne, and that's going to get him a nose ahead and fully by the time they get to turn 3.
And that was a good move there. That's going to tell me that Paul Williams has a good feel of that car. He didn't have to chase it up the track all too much. Ooh, a little bit sideways there. Is that going to open up an opportunity here for Dan McLaren? He's going to get a little whiff of the draft, but he's got to be a little bit careful. As Osborne's still down to his inside, he's able to clear him now as they dive into 1. But I think Osborne's going to have a little bit of a fight back here potentially.
Cars fanning out everywhere in the corners, still picking whichever line they seem to please. We hop on with Josh Daniels, the Love Racing driver, has been poking and prodding at Richard Regan Jr., just hasn't really been able to make the pass thus far. You can see him trying to run a little bit of a lower line, and we'll see if that gives him anything later in the stint. Behind them, it looks like James O'Brien's now making a move on Chris Hudson. That'll crack him into the top 5.
It will indeed, and he tried to go high there earlier, Joe. It didn't really work. Whoa, big catch in the back, and we've got cars spinning.
Oh, and trying to see who that is. Most are able to avoid. Looks like Zach Osborne was the one that went around, but yeah, somebody in front of him had to make a big catch. That was the 38 of Paul Williams. Unfortunately, at the same time that was happening, Zach, and Mark Kalins had trouble as well. Zach found himself actually fully getting spun around, and I think he made slight contact with Luke Christian in the process.
Yeah, and there, whoo, and that was just wrong place, wrong time there for Mark Kalin, unfortunately, is that really nowhere for that 62 to go.
Yeah, a car high and a car low, so basically it just kind of was stuck with what he had. Looks like Kerry Graves also got a piece of Kalin because of that. You'll see him in the red car. Yep, big hit to the front. Sumner also coming in contact. Otherwise, most others behind were pretty good about slowing up before they came to the scene of the accident. But 2 very quick cautions here at the start of the race. There was the good catch there you saw at the very start now I'd lost track. It was the 38. It was Paul Williams who had had to run after that one. Actually, Paul Williams just headed down into pit lane. Let's take another look at the replay.
Yeah, so this is on board here with the 38. Again, just a little bit loose out of 2. That's going to be a thing that we're going to be saying all day long, Joe. It's going to catch people out, and I think that may have been a little bit of incident fixation for Zach Osborne, that he saw him lose it, and that's just what sent him spinning around.
So he's taking fresh tires, it looks like. I think Paul Williams is not happy with how the car was handling there, even after this short of a stint. He's got to hold on to the rest of those sets, though. He'll need those for later, that's for sure. And looks like we're checking on Charlie Sumner's perspective of the incident. Just a little bit of contact with the car in front, who had a much bigger hit in with Mark Kalin. Sees the smoke. He checks up initially, and then, oh, maybe he didn't actually touch.
No, I think he may have just caught a little bit. I think I saw the right front of that hood crinkle up a little bit, so there may have just been the merest bit of contact there, Joe.
Yeah, I think he got away pretty decently on that without having to be too concerned. So top 21 drivers, looks like they have yet to stop. Everybody behind them has been down pit lane at least once. Oh, and somebody else is heading down, Zach Osborne. So Osborne is in that number 10 machine.
All right, some drivers opting to go a little bit here on some alternate strategy, obviously with those tires, some of that caused by damage. I like the idea of some of the drivers just opting to come down if they didn't pick up anything, maybe just go on a little bit of an alternate strategy and try to get just themselves off cycle a little bit. If we continue to see all of these yellows, we get a nice green run, it could play into their hands.
Yeah, so far no such luck, though. It's been a caution on, I think it was lap 4 or 5, and then here around lap 10. And they have not doubled up yet, so we're going to take at least one more lap behind the pace car. Still, most of the leaders electing to stay out. at this stage. We have had some pretty decent movers taking advantage of the incidents happening around them. Guys like Cody Evanson and Trent Dinkle up 14 spots each. I think Mike Witt made about that many up. Zach Vaughn has been up 15. He's in 23rd, though, I believe. Yeah, he did not qualify.
Yeah, so as our old colleague Soup used to say, not sure we can count him as one of the biggest movers, but it's still an impressive run from him nonetheless.
There we go. Lights now turn out on the pace car, so we're going to get rolling on lap 15. It's 145 laps. One thing we haven't mentioned, though, is this race can become a timed race, and that was something that happened multiple times last season with this next-gen car, including here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. They get 90 minutes to try and complete those 145 laps. So if they get too many cautions at a certain time, we're not going to be able to get all the way done with the race. So let's see if this starts to get a little bit better after this, if they are going to be able to clean up the act and get some nice long green flag runs to go.
Indeed, that's all we can hope for, Joe, is once again Richard Regan Jr. going to lead us to the green. Lights on the pace truck are off as it gets ready to peel off here out of 4.
So unlike the original start of the race, Richard Regan Jr. gets to decide when he wants to go. The initial start is up to Barney to call it. After that, the leader can choose, and looks like the 56 likes going early as he did that last time, and that gave him a very good jump over those behind him. Looks like James O'Brien able to get into 4th just past Brandon Walter. And then Besaw Jr. and Chris Hudson still fighting side by side here at the top of the field, but most of them are spreading out quickly and getting single file.
Ooh, and a good move there up to the inside from James O'Brien. That's going to put him right behind his old title rival of Joshua Daniels. Jumping back in the field, though, this is Abner Acosta in a very close battle with Dan McLaren.
Acosta on the high side, McLaren down low. They've also got Robert Besaw Jr. in there. I mentioned he's still racing with the 43 in front of us. And how's that for a throwback? The 3 and the 43 fighting hard in the classic schemes. And Acosta able to get by both McLaren and Besaw Jr. in the end. In fact, he's going to use this bottom line to great effect. Acosta liking it right down by the white line. And that's going to move him up into 6th, maybe even 5th if Walter gives way.
Indeed, it might. The one thing he's going to have to worry about is running that low is going to use up a little bit of his stuff. He's got to be careful about running that far down. He's really got to catch the car coming off of the corner, and that can really use up those outside tires.
Just a little... Oh, as we got another caution. Is that Kerry Graves? Yeah, it looks like Kerry Graves on the backstretch, and somebody else. I think that is... looks like Jose Medina. Ooh, yeah, Jose Medina got a piece of it, and Barry Leclerc. Those are the two running into Kerry Graves in the 41 there, who went completely back across the track. I think he loses it on his own here. Let's watch from Medina's perspective.
I think it's just that curse of turn 2 gets a little bit squirrely. Yeah, loses it there, and then you can ride on board with Medina. You see the hit, contact into the back there, and that's a little bit of a domino effect there, Joe.
Yeah, it didn't really have much place to go. It happened so quickly. And this is Graves. Wow. Those things dirt tracking coming off of 2. It's not the first time we've watched that, and they're so fast around this track. It's going to pretty much almost automatically going to be a massive accident. Now, before that caution came out, we did have a couple black flags given out. Baron Glover and Zach Osborne had an unsafe pit exit. There's the damage as well for one of our drivers involved in that incident. So unfortunately, a driver's not allowed to serve those black flags during the cautions. They're going to have to wait until we go back to green, and then they can come in and serve those penalties.
Exactly, and so that's going to hurt them a little bit, that they have to serve those under green flag conditions, frankly, for maximum impact, and so that is really, really going to hurt their race running.
So we are expecting fuel stops to happen during this one. It's not just tires, of course, but with all these cautions, kind of makes me wonder, at what point do you pull the trigger? When is going to be a good time to come in if we keep seeing this sort of trend continue where we only get just a few laps of green and then we go back to caution again?
I don't know. We saw for the first time there James O'Brien do a little bit of a head fake to try to see if he could get anybody to bite to go down pit lane. But I've got to think you want to try to get a little bit more into this race. Not necessarily, Joe, because your tires are wearing out or anything like that at this point, but just because you need to save them for a late race run here if we do get a long, consistent green flag run.
Absolutely. And nobody came in this time. Everybody stayed out, other than those that need some repairs, of which we're starting to see more and more cars in that realm. And looks like Baron Glover is able to get back out on track. Jose Medina just headed down into pit lane because his car is in very sore shape right now. But we've got what looks to be 33 that are still rolling on the circuit of our 39 starters. So they're starting to get picked off at a relatively quick rate because we're only on lap 20.
And that's just what a track like Atlanta can do for that top lane. Hearing some reports that it may be a little bit greasy up there, a little bit more slippery, and that could explain how, for example, we saw O'Brien able to get down low as easy as he was.
So just listen to race control real quick. That's just kind of some housekeeping stuff, it sounds like, so nothing really worth reporting on here. But Regan leads O'Brien, leads Daniels, leads Harvey. Now Acosta's been hanging out up front. Abner's been an interesting one. He's been quick this last season or two in this next-gen car. And considering how much they've taken some sort of sports car aspects over to these things, I would have thought that it would suit him extremely well, DJ. But I wouldn't really consider him kind of the dominant force that you'd expect.
No, not necessarily. And Joe, you're right. There are a lot of sports car characteristics, obviously with the big diffusers in the back and a little bit more of the underside coming into it. Not as much side draft necessarily, but these are very different beasts than driving a sports car around. They're a lot heavier. They're really hard to slow down. So a very, very difficult car to drive on the whole, is everything we're hearing from drivers.
Certainly seems like it, but Richard Regan Jr. has got a good handle on it. James O'Brien has as well, and I would not count out Josh Daniels. Yes, he's lost his top spot, even though he started on the pole, but he's still hanging out in those top 3 positions. Pace car is in. Regan is once again going to go quickly. Green flag is out. This time it looks like maybe Daniels might have the jump on O'Brien and be able to get beneath him into second place. They slide down into the first corner, and he's got the shorter line, but momentum favors the 33.
Indeed it does, and so Daniels is going to have to slot back there and see what he can do behind them. A little bit of side-by-side between Harvey and Acosta as they go down into the corner. Abner again taking a look on that low side, as is the car that we're running on board with right here. That is Cody Evanson.
Yeah, he loves that low line, does Acosta. Evanson, not as much. He's trying to see if he can get past Hudson, although Hudson falls back initially into turns 1 and 2. Momentum coming back towards him, and like a rocket ship, he flies on by. In fact, he's going to be able to go by Harvey even, it looks like.
He might well indeed, as there they get going down, spreading out a little bit. Once again, everybody kind of picking their own preferred line around here. Watch out for James O'Brien. He looks like he's got a little bit of a run on Richard Regan Jr.
He's right on that tail. The 56, though, looks like he keeps running his line. Not really changing it to try and react to the 56, or to the 33 rather. Oh, and a loose moment behind them. I think that was Cody Evanson who had to really get out of it. Oh, and a tip behind him. That's going to be a spin from Goodell. Maybe, no, he catches it. How in the world did he catch that?
I have no idea, and I'm not sure Ryan Goodell did either, but he comes back onto the track. A little bit of a check up there around him. That was incredible.
And taking advantage of that, Clayton Ham. Let's take another look at this replay. The 14, all sorts of sideways, and it starts to look like the car wants to go again. That's why he went on the apron. I thought maybe he just was slow and was trying to get out of the way, but he had to save it twice.
Absolutely incredible, Joe. And these cars, very, very hard to wheel when they get sideways. If they start to skid, they like to just keep going around. So that makes this even more impressive for Goodell.
So the 17 still carrying on, at least, even though he's lost a number of positions. But boy, these guys are having to wheel these cars today. They put a lot more power in them than compared to last season when they were here at Atlanta. And it is proving to be an adventure as Pat Harvey sits in ninth, pretty much stuck at the back of this huge pack that's forming. That's Dinkel on the inside of Evanson in front of him. They've also got the top of that pack. That looks like that is Daniels and Acosta going side by side.
Yeah, it is indeed. Abner going down low, putting Josh Daniels down into fourth. That's going to be a little bit of a disappointment for our pole sitter, but he's still got plenty of time in this race to try to catch back up. But we are definitely seeing here from some of these private label team hype drivers the long run pace as we've been able to go a couple of laps here under green.
Maybe it's going to be all about that tire conservation. Oh, near contact here as we ride on board with Trent Dinkel. And Kalen rather, is saying we've got a wreck. There's the caution. Looks to be Dustin Griffiths, Zach Vaughn. Not sure who that started with. I think looks like the 82.
All right, as we go back to check out the GSRC replay here, there is the 82 on your screen. Oh, chasing that car across the quad oval, almost catches it, and then, oh, just unfortunately, I talked about how hard these cars are to slow down, and it looked like they're just nowhere to go for Zachary Vaughn.
Eventually, the car came to where he wanted to be. We're going to watch from on board his perspective. Yeah, came back across, and he was not expecting that. Couldn't go any lower than that. And that collects both of them. Thankfully, it didn't look like too hard of a hit, so he might be able to get away with that. He is in pit lane currently in the meantime, but that could have been much worse. Griffiths also taking some repairs due to that. And now we get a flood of friends joining them as the pit lane is getting busy.
Indeed, we are. Looks like pretty much all of your front runners. The only two drivers that I think are staying out as of right now, Joshua Tellez and Paul Williams. Only two that are opting for a little bit of an unconventional strategy right now.
Maybe they like that track position, especially around here. Tellez, Williams, and I thought I saw one more stay out. That's Glover, so he's a lap down. So only two on the lead lap. What about exiting pit lane? Ooh, Daniels is slow. Daniels extremely slow coming off of pit lane, and he is going to lose a lot of spots as Richard Regan Jr. emerges first, O'Brien second, Acosta moves to third, and Chris Hudson fourth on out of the lane. Granted, this is going to be sixth for Hudson, as we do have those two cars that did not pit. I'm not sure what happened with Daniels unless he missed his pit stall, because
he missed his pit stall, Joe. I just took a look at it, and he didn't actually overshoot it. He undershot as he came in.
It's one thing to be a little too ambitious, but being too cautious, I'm sure that won't go down well with his team as they come around. And it looks like those two that stayed out are not repenting. They are going to stick with what they did and see if these 26 and 18 lap old tires will carry them as well as they hope.
I think that's going to be a pretty tall order here, Joe, especially everybody else behind. With some fresh rubber, it's going to be very, very tough for anybody to try to hold them off.
That got an oof out of our producer. That's when you know that might not be a good decision. So we'll see if they come to regret that pretty quickly. We're not doubled up yet, so they get another lap to think about it. This is Richard Regan Jr., the highest on the new tire strategy right now here on lap 31. How many have we lost up to this point? Because we have a few more I see that have disappeared. Looks like Zach Vaughn has called it a day. Romero has long since been gone. Zach Osborne is officially out of it as well. So those are our three who are truly well and gone. Josh Conker has been sitting in pit lane for a long time. It's been 23 minutes. Normally, I would say that's day done. But like I said, we've seen Conker come back from unbelievable deficits in the past to get good finishes. Now, I don't think today's going to be a good finish necessarily, DJ, but I wonder how many spots he's going to try and get back out and pick up.
Well, that really is where it just comes down to a little bit of a numbers game. If he's able to come back out and get a couple of positions, be able to get a few points there, work his way towards a better total, that's all he can hope for at this point.
Absolutely. And now we go double file. So 1 to go, just as they see Mark Kalin come out from the pit lane to try and pick it back up. Looks like Jose Medina as well is back out there, and Medina is going to be on the lead lap. What about Kalin? Nope, Kalin is 8 laps down at this point, so he is basically just trying to cruise around and regain some spots himself. We've had a lot of cloud cover. The only good part about that is that it has cooled the track down, so hopefully that will improve the racing, but certainly makes it look quite gloomy for what is supposed to be a happy season opener.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't exactly look as cheerful as can be, but rest assured, these racers are ready and rearing to go back under green here on lap 32.
All right. So for the first time, it is going to be someone other than Regan Jr. or Daniels who will lead the field. Tellez will have control in the 88. Started this race from 35th. Didn't put a qualifying time in. Pace car is off, and so is Tellez, but he spins him up. He's barely going to lead it back to the line. He's already going to lose the lead by the time they hit turn 1, as Richard Regan Jr. flies around the outside of him, but it looks like he's able to slow up the likes of Acosta and Williams, and Acosta tries to sneak underneath, but has to check up the car, and this is giving a massive gap to the 56.
Well, kids, if you ever want to see the difference between old tires and new tires, there it is. Catch it, oh, into the wall, and it's a big one.
Everybody up at the front trying to scatter, some of them heading down into pit lane. I think that could have been much worse, but it did take out a few front runners because of it. Trying to make out who he ran into in the end in the purple car. I think that was a 38. Yeah, that was Paul Williams, unfortunately. The other one that stayed out on that strategy, so it hurt both of them. Looks like, oh, Dan McLaren caught it in a big way. He's going to have a huge contact, so a lot of dents on the front from that. Anybody else really get involved? Here's Williams' view.
Oh, just a big thunk there. That's Trent Dinkle there in that blue number 9. I don't know if he avoided that or if he just gave a little bit of a love tap to the 38 in front of him. It was very, very close. Let's watch on board with this. He may have just been able to catch this right. You see him coming down in front of him. I think he kind of got away with that.
Waldo Walden did smack the wall. We saw in one of the replays, the 84 kind of came across after he lost control. So he's probably got some big right side damage. The 9... the right, yeah, there's a little bit of a scrape on the right-hand side. So I'm not sure how badly that's going to hurt him. Probably won't help his straight line speed, but I think he got away pretty lucky considering the circumstances. So now we're going to see even more cars head down pit lane. I think that answers the question on whether or not you should take tires when everybody else heads in, DJ. Do not buck the trend.
No, not at all. You definitely need to be able to do that, as it definitely looks like that those old tires can come back to bite you.
Wow. And we've already had a number of drivers that have been down pit lane quite a few times. Now, we don't know if they've taken tires every single time. Papineau has been down 3. Hogg in the 89 has been down 3. Bobby Anderson's been down 4. Byron McDonald has had 4 visits. We've had 6 for Tom Massey. Definitely don't think he's taken tires every time on that once. So a few of them have been keeping their pit crews busy and active today. So if they are on a diet, they're certainly going to get some help losing some weight.
Indeed they are, Joe, as they are definitely going to be hustling out on pit lane. Get ready. Looks like one more lap of yellow here. The pace car lights rather still on here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Now what is Acosta doing there? Is he just trying to play games with Richard Regan Jr.? He was actually up on the bumper pushing him, it looked like. I've seen people do that to the pace car because you can't physically hit it here in iRacing, so you can have a little bit of fun, but he's getting right up behind him. He must be trying to get into his head or something. Speaking of which, there we see the nose cam. Josh Tellez has actually gotten on the text chat and apologized to everybody for causing that incident. I can understand the shame on that one.
Yeah, I can too, Joe. I've been in those positions before when you just try to go for a gutsy strategy call and it doesn't play out for you. It is a tough thing to be in, but sometimes you just got to roll the dice like that to see what happens.
I do like the new paint scheme we've got on Acosta's car. I don't think he had that orange little sort of fade on the front that I do like. It looks pretty snazzy on that number 5 machine. Looks like lights are out on the pace car. Here we go. We're going to get ready to go once again. Poor Josh Daniels has not been doing so hot since that pit stop. Remember, he fell well down the order. He's still in 7th place, was not able to make up spots in that little bit of green flag running that we saw. Here we're hopping on board with him now, looking forward at all the positions that he's got to re-overtake if he wants to get back where he started.
Yeah, he's going to have some work to do here, as is Chris Hudson, down 2 on the day. Robert Bissaw Jr., after all of that, well, he's exactly where he started. He's back in 8th.
Okay, so let's hope that this goes a little bit better. Everybody's got about 3/4 of a lap under green on their tires, but otherwise, at least we've got fresh rubber on pretty much everybody. So as the pace car comes out of turn 4, and they are stacking up close, they want to try and stick with Richard Regan Jr. on this restart. He's been going so early. Green flag is out as Richard takes off. Pretty decent start, but it looks like this time both Acosta and O'Brien are pretty good as well. They're going to hang on as they fly down into turns 1 and 2, and Chris Hudson is approaching to the bottom side of Acosta. He runs out of steam on the backstretch.
Not quite able to do it, and Acosta's going to go through. I think he's going to try to bring Dan McLaren on with him. Acosta's going to cut down low, block off any attack there from Chris Hudson, and that looks like McLaren's going to have to fall back a little bit. Trent Dinkle taking a look to the inside.
I'm impressed that McLaren is actually staying as competitive as he is, because he's got a pretty big dent on the right front of the car from that contact in the last wreck that he had. As we watch from on board, Trent Dinkle down on the low side of McLaren, who just manages to get in front now, passing by into 5th position. So the 25 not hindered at all at a track that I thought any sort of damage is going to slow you down massively.
I did too, Joe, but apparently these next gens a little bit more resilient than we gave them credit for. Drivers working their way through, seeing a lot more single file running here. I think drivers are a little bit more trepidatious with all of these yellows that we've had in the first 40 laps.
Half an hour, just over half an hour. Oh, as McLaren had a big check up there in the background, but side by side now behind our leader between Acosta and O'Brien. And Trent saying he needs a black flag cleared. I didn't quite hear for what. Double checking on that. I don't see a black flag next to his name. That's interesting. But yeah, we're just over a half an hour into this one, and we're only to lap 41 right now. This is not looking good. To try and make the race distance is a big checkup. Did he get the wall, Acosta, or did he just find himself having to chase it up the hill?
I think he just had to chase it up the hill a little bit, but what that's going to do is that's going to put him in direct competition with his teammate there, James O'Brien. They're going to be side by side as they cross the timing and scoring line. Looks like the momentum line's going to carry Abner around, but O'Brien trying to push him up the track just a little bit. We ride on board with Chris Hudson.
Private label Team Hype has been a massive force recently. They're running 1-2-3 right now. That might be 1-2-4 as Chris Hudson in the 43 able to go around the high side of the 33. And sounds like the 13 unfortunately had to go down into the grass at some point. Not sure what happened to him. We'll try and check on that a little later. Top 5 starting to break away, going all the way down to Trent Dinkel in that 5th spot. Found out that it was not a black flag. He was getting on the radio to talk about how he had to catch the car.
And that is a very, very common trend that we're seeing. We now ride on board with the 9th place Brandon Walter. Little bit of a side-by-side going on up ahead. That's Joshua Daniels trying to fight his way back up to the front of the field. Able to clear by Clayton Ham. A good inside move there from your pole sitter.
As we watch this second pack, which grows much larger than the top 5. You can see they're all clumped together. Watching on board, Bobby Anderson, the number 2, sees this entire gaggle of machinery up in front of him, knowing he's got to try and pass them if he wants to get a better result today. But he's still got a little bit of time in it, and he's certainly giving space. I wonder if that is to do with all the incidents that we've seen so far this early.
I think it very well might be, Joe. Drivers just wanting to be as careful as possible here, not wanting to bring out another yellow, trying to keep this clean and green as we want a good long green flag run, but almost 3 wide in that mid-pack.
It's looking a little frenetic back here. Thankfully, they've kept it clean up to this point. Down to the inside, that's Evanson above Papineau, who we ride on board with. Evanson trying to see if he can get an overtake done on Zemke, the 57 to his high side. The monster car working hard to deny him on that one. They've also got the 27, the 37 rather, behind them, trying to keep up. We're on board with him now, looking from the roof cam.
Yeah, indeed, and it looks like the 57's able to nose his way ahead right now. The 36, Cody Evanson. Ooh, a little bit of a clink into the wall there for Eric Papineau.
Just a little dent. We could see the hood bend slightly from that one, but I think he managed to get away with it. Didn't upset the car too badly, so he carries on as both of those in front of him fighting for position. The likes of Evanson and Zemke hoping to lock down 12th place or maybe 11th. Brandon Walter in front of him. Evanson manages to get underneath the blue machine. Can he actually make this one stick? And they're going to go 3 wide potentially. The 57 putting himself between.
He's thinking about it, trying to do it, but I like the hesitation there from the 57, not wanting to go all out, not wanting to be in full attack mode there. Zemke choosing discretion is the better part of valor. It's a good move, and it's going to net him as this race goes along further.
Down the backstretch once again, 2 cars nearly losing it. Holy cow, both of them managing to gather it back up. Didn't quite catch who that was. Was that the 57 actually?
I think it may have been, Joe, as we're seeing a lot of these drivers having a fight. I think Cody Evanson, another one, the 36, that may have had to chase the car up the track.
And yeah, we're getting confirmation that's who it was, thankfully. Everybody's still rolling. And another little bobble back there from Papineau, who just gets out of it when he sees himself starting to drift into those above. Hudson, who sits in 3rd place, chasing behind Abner Acosta. These 5 have still been close, but I've not been seeing them race each other hard. I wonder if they're just trying to tick off the laps here now that we're starting to get some green flag running and see what happens.
Well, Joe, this is the longest we've been under green, so I think for some of these drivers, they just want to know how the car's going to feel on a long-run pace and really get acclimatized to it. And so that may be part of the logic there from not wanting to throw any haymaker passes.
Oops. Well, as soon as we say that, Abner Acosta got underneath Richard Regan Jr. for the lead. He is not able to actually make it stick. And he's going to get back down into second. There you see them way up there in the front. There they are, the 43 of Hudson behind him. And yeah, that pass attempt alone separated him by a number of car lengths. So it looks like if you're going to try and make a move, you really got to try and make an effective one.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of margin for error here. There you see Hudson just running on that high line a little bit. Abner, again, making that low line work, but you see how much he's having to fight the car to keep it off of the wall. That's going to scrub speed and scrub traction off of those tires. And with as hot as the track is, that is not what you want around a hot, slippery Atlanta circuit.
Still at about 102 Fahrenheit, has not dipped below 100 at any point that I've seen today. Private label driver going to go down to the bottom. In front of him, Regan is now trying the bottom as well. But Hudson stays a lane or two up, and all three of them find a way to make it work amazingly. I do like the way this track gives such a variety of lines possible for these cars.
Yeah, it really is a testament here to the old Atlanta Motor Speedway. A great track and a difficult one. I mean, we've seen so many drivers, so many experienced drivers having those bobbles off of the corners here. A little side-by-side with Besaw Jr., and that's the 29 of Clayton Ham to his outside. Careful, boys!
They've now had the longest run yet so far in this race on green. So those tires are probably starting to feel it. Will somebody else be unable to manage them for much longer and find themselves spinning out? We've already seen some big moments off of turn 2. We haven't covered it, but there's been car 13 having problems off of turn 4 as well. Watching from O'Brien. Ooh, that was a big checkup for the 43 as the 5 just sliced in front of him off the corner. O'Brien likes the look of that. He wants to try and get by not just one, but maybe two. There's no room up on the high side as it sits right now, and it looks like Hudson's going to be able to scream on past.
All right, so a good move there from Hudson, and it goes to show you just what can happen. You make a little bit of a bobble, and that just opens you up to an attack from behind.
It really does. Look at this midfield pack, though. Again, just pick a spot. You'll find a car. Hogg is leading them. They've got Bobby Anderson underneath them. Mike Witt, Dan McLaren is in there. Scotty Johnson, Skip Gandy, Charles Sumner. As we ride on board through 1 and 2 behind the 89. This is Bobby Anderson that we ride with. Started this race from 18th. He's only been up one spot, which is honestly an impressive feat with how much action has been happening today.
Yeah, it really and truly is. We now ride on board with Charles Sumner there. You just see that focus that he has got to have. You've got to be so careful picking your lines as you make your way around here. You don't want to be doing anything too crazy, because it's not just about picking your line and what's safest for you. It's also indicating to the drivers around you where you're going to go. You don't want to do anything sudden that's going to throw them out of whack.
You have to play well with others around here. That is for sure. And Chris Hudson still playing with the back of Abner Acosta. But Acosta has regained the ground that he lost on Richard Regan Jr. It's not completely back to the tailgate of the 56 yet, but he's much closer than what we witnessed before. Off of turn 2 behind them as, wow, fantastic run by Josh Daniels. Gonna duck underneath Trent Dinkle, but can't finish the job.
No, the car just looks like it stalls out a little bit there. Besaw trying to get a little bit hungry, doesn't want to take it 3 wide. Little bit of a pinch down there from Trent Dinkle, and I think that was partially just to bring the car down and partially to try to blunt any momentum there from Joshua Daniels. And again, running very close, but those are two very experienced racers that know exactly what they're doing.
Let's not forget that Daniels started this on the pole, so this 5th place got to be a little bit frustrating right now. Just behind him, Goodell is chasing Besaw Jr. there, watching from the popcorn position with the best view in the house on how this battle is going to finish out. So far, going a little bit more in favor of the 9. Trent Dinkle fully ahead, and Daniels has no place to go. Shorter line at the bottom of 1 and 2. He comes back at him, and we got another caution. Oh, looks like Dan McLaren involved in it again. Walden, Scotty Johnson, and Lou Christian.
Yeah, this was back in the pack here, Joe. Not sure exactly what precipitated this. Let's watch here. Oh, just running a little bit too high there for the 89, and that sends everything a-tumbling.
Yeah, Dan McLaren scraping the outside wall, and those behind him had little chance to try and avoid it. Here we go again. This is Scotty Johnson's view. He definitely gets collected in this. Oh, he was almost scot-free, too.
Yeah, almost got away with it, but just caught the tail end of that incident and ended up in the wall.
I gotta think we're gonna see everybody down on pit lane, and actually, no, they're not there yet. They're actually coming to there right now. Richard Regan Jr. is gonna come in, and I don't think we'll see anybody object to that and stay out. If they do, they were not paying attention on the last time we got stops.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody coming down here, I think, at this point. The only driver that I'm not seeing is Jose Medina, potentially. But no, Jose comes down as well.
Not seeing anybody miss their stall this time on the front runners, all taking 4 tires and fuel, and exiting out. Richard Regan barely ahead of Acosta side by side. Who won out on Hudson and O'Brien? It looks like O'Brien's going to be giving it. So he'll get into 3rd thanks to that nice pit stop. Nobody gambling on 2 tires amongst the drivers. Everybody going for 4 and fuel. And checking to see how we're doing on those who are DNF'd or out of the running. By the way, Josh Conker looks like he's back out. Yeah, he's been out for a number of laps, so he's kind of flown under the radar on us. But the 54 is not giving up on this and is going to try and go collect valuable points.
Yeah, just going to try to close in here on whatever he can. And as I said, this is all a matter of just trying to go out there and turn those laps for Josh Conker. Hope he is going to be able to move his way up through the field a little bit more and do what he can to just recoup a couple of points here.
So we've got 42 minutes and some change left. That's with, what, about 80 laps to go, I think? Or thereabouts? That seems like a little bit tall of an ask. I think we're definitely going to be at a timed race from here, even if we manage to go green for the rest of the way. Yeah, best laps are in the 31s. So, yeah, that seems a little too far, unfortunately. But Richard Regan Jr. is going to restart the race. A couple drivers getting their laps back are going to be waved around. Kerry Graves and Jason Larson. Larson involved in that very first incident, very first yellow of the day, and yet is still out there. And actually, this will get him back on the lead lap in that 13. So well done to Jason to stick with it and get back with the big boys here.
Yeah, it's a good run for Jason, and it's just kind of a testament to just sticking it out around here on these sort of intermediate, almost semi-super speedway races with just as fast as they are flying. You never know what can happen. You never know what misfortune can befall the drivers in front of you. So if Jason's able to just keep his nose in here, he's back on the lead lap, and this is good for him.
There you go, double file. 1 to go. We're going to restart on lap 65 now. So yeah, 81 laps to go when we get racing once again. We'll see what happens from here. Graves getting that lap back means he's going to be on old tires, but he'll be at the back of the field, so hopefully that shouldn't be an issue. In the meantime, They trundle down the backstretch. Believe we have not lost any new drivers officially to the DNF list, but it does look like Waldo Walden and Dan McLaren are having to take quite a bit of repairs with that last wreck. Not sure if we'll get to see them again. Richard Regan Jr. has looked like the man to beat so far in this race. He's probably led the most laps up to this point, and Abner Acosta has been trying to see if he can pry that away from him as the green flag is out. And Acosta trying to cut down in front of O'Brien before he can get a nose in down through 1 and 2. But nope, the 33 is already there and actually pulling ahead a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of a good run there, but momentum going to shift back to Abner Acosta as they keep going. And now the 33's got to be careful because Chris Hudson looking a little bit strong on that outside as well.
Trying that high line. He's been liking it so far this race. Gives him good momentum, but the car looks a little slidey off of turn 4. Still O'Brien starts to fall back, and there's Josh Daniels back in the hunt. He's up to the top 5.
And that's what he has been hoping for the majority of this race. Oh, we've got contact behind.
Big wreck. Absolutely massive hit in there, and oh, it's turning into the big one. This one really is. No place to go for so many drivers as it's all across the track. Trying to figure out where that started. This is well towards the front of the field. Looks like, oh, Clayton Ham is going to make contact with Robert Besaw Jr., but that is because the 3 of Besaw is starting to get loose and is trying desperately to catch the car. But because they were so tightly packed up, you're going to see it here. There's just not many places to go.
Yeah, almost nowhere to go once this happens. Oh, you can see that slide happening all the way through the corner. Besaw just trying to hold on to it to the best of his abilities, and just really nothing he could do.
Heading into smoke, can't hardly see where you're going. Yeah, some cars still plowing into them, even though they're stationary. Besaw's day is done. That car is toast.
Yeah, this is going to knock out a good chunk of people. Oh, big hit there for Scotty Johnson. Just nowhere for him to go as well. Yeah, this is going to take out a large chunk of this field, Joe.
ARCA breaks a bit there on some of these drivers for that one, which is somewhat disappointing. Usually this league prides itself in everybody trying to play it safe, but that one caught a few drivers out who maybe thought they were too clever for that and could sneak through the wreck. And my goodness, I have no idea how many actually wound up with damage, because that was countless cars in that one. That had to have been at least a dozen or more that had damage of some sort, even if it was minor.
Yeah, this is a whole bunch of them. I'm seeing pretty much everybody from 15th on down in some sort of problem here, jumping down pit lane. So this definitely took out a huge chunk of the field.
So we re-rack once again. Atlanta been a little bit cursed since the next gen showed up. It gave us a caution fest at the first time we did it last season, and this time it's been struggling to keep the cars racing. We got that one long stint in there, DJ, and that was actually very, very awesome to watch. Some great racing all throughout it. But ahead and behind it, it's just been yellow fever.
Yeah, indeed. Atlanta is one of the most difficult ovals on the iRacing service. It is so tricky, so easy to get loose coming off of 3 and 4, but coming off of 2 and 4. But if you can tame it, it's a great track to drive, but it is very difficult to do so.
35 minutes left on the clock officially right now. Drivers are finding that there's getting to be less and less time, which also means the anxiety probably is ramping up. The desperation inside the cars ramping up a little bit. We could see some moves that are kind of risky, thinking they might not get all that much in the way of green flag racing, having to really push their way forward. You think about some of the quicker drivers, guys like Trent Dinkel, who probably wants to be farther up than he sits in 13th. Other drivers that are now having to come back through who have been very quick. So this is just going to complicate things and frustrate things even more, potentially, if drivers don't pay heed to what's been happening out there and try to stay patient up to the end of this race, however many laps that winds up being.
Yeah, indeed. This is the point where it's really, really helpful to have those crew chiefs, those spotters, your team in your ear to be figuring out the numbers here for you, helping you along as you go along so that you realize this is a timed race and you start to figure out what those points are going to be.
So if we go green to the end from here, if we're doing just about 2 laps a minute, yeah, it might still be possible. No, it wouldn't be at this point. Yeah, no, they are beyond that because it's on to lap 70 at this stage. So we are locked into a timed race. So looks like they're double filing, ready to go once again, restarting on lap 71. And there's somewhere in the realm of about 28 cars still on the track, many of them now on the lane, trying to bang away at the carbon fiber and see if they can get it back into, well, I guess they don't bang away on carbon fiber at this point. That'd be the sheet metal days, but they're going to try and get the cars back out on track regardless. Meanwhile, pace car is going to give way to Richard Regan Jr. Can Acosta do something to get around him? And what will we see out of James O'Brien restarting from 4th? Because he's got Chris Hudson beneath him now instead of restarting in 3rd. Green flag is out and immediately chopping to the bottom. Acosta does not want Hudson to do anything funny here and wants to keep his position. O'Brien riding high and doing great with it. He's going to be able to pull past. There's a little bit of a lift out of Hudson. Oh, and he almost squeezes into the side of Evanson, and top of it sees him at the last moment. Thankfully, we have no wreck, but just about pushed him into the wall.
Yeah, very, very close there. Now Evanson's going to try to press his advantage, go around the outside, and he's got it. And oh, Hudson having to lift again. He's getting gobbled up as we've got a wreck behind.
Leclerc involved in the 74. Looks like Skip Gandy. Ooh, a couple more ahead of them. Looks like Eric Hogg in the 89 and Jason Larson. So this is off of turn 4. And it's going to start. Yeah, there with the 20, it looks like. That's Skip Gandy. He's just going to get loose on his own, and unfortunately, with all the time in the world to catch it, he wound up stopped at a very unfortunate spot. Did get a little bit of help, unfortunately, from Mike Witt, who ran into him. Looks like Trent Dinkel also made some contact. And everybody else just kind of slid in there with no place to go, with Barry Leclerc having a monstrous T-bone into the side of him and actually going straight underneath Dougie's camera on the pit entry.
Yeah, a very, very rough wreck there. Everybody bunched together because of the restart and just nowhere to go. And that's really where this sort of mantra of yellows breed yellows, that's where it comes from.
Okay, well, this has unfortunately given us a lot of time to think about what is happening. Hopefully it's given the drivers a little bit as well. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with the last half here of round 1 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. So stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's round one of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series. And unfortunately, we've had quite a few cautions here today. We're up to 8 at this stage. We're on lap 76. And many of them have been coming one after another here. And these last few laps, we're actually down to a timed race, even though it was initially going to be 145. So that 70 to go, not entirely accurate. We'll keep you up to speed on that. It's 27 minutes left on the clock currently. So expect, if they go green, to get somewhere in the realm of about 60 laps or so. And they're going to be led by Richard Regan Jr. Abner Acosta will start next to him. O'Brien starts from third, and Cody Evanson, now newcomer, showing up and quietly picking his way to the front. Started this race from 27th without a qualifying time, and maybe someone to watch out for in the end. There goes the pace car. Regan goes almost immediately this time. Green flag is out, but Acosta's got this one down to a science. He's every single time getting in front of the third place car to try and cover them off, but no, looks like O'Brien gets a better run down into 1 and 2. He's going to drop back off the exit of 2, and now here comes Cody.
Yeah, Evanson carrying some good momentum there on that high side. Now it's going to be O'Brien that's able to slot his way back in and get himself around as they go around here. He's got to be careful. That's Chris Hudson coming up from behind him.
Hudson getting back into it. He was vying for podium positions earlier in this race, just fell back a little bit. And it's not really nothing to be worried about, I think, at this stage. He could easily make up those spots in front of him. James O'Brien, I think, brushed the outside wall, and somebody spinning to the inside. Papineau finds himself hitting the inner barrier and getting spun around.
Oh, and that's just that looseness coming off of 4, coming back to check, coming back to bite once again.
Let's see, is it all on his own? There have been a few of those already, so it wouldn't be too shocking. So far, so good. Yeah, nobody touched him. I think that is just him. And the 37 takes a big thwack to the wall in the meantime. Oh, he maybe had a little tiny touch there. It's finished him off.
Yeah, maybe just the slightest of ones there.
I think he was going around regardless at that stage, if I'm honest. It was He was not saving that thing. So, not sure it made too great of a difference. And for those wondering about Josh Conker, looks like he has since parked it. So the 54 is now done officially. See if anybody else also joining them. Robert Besaw Jr. officially done as well. So that's 5 cars that I'm seeing with checkered flags next to their name on our timing and scoring that have sent it to the garage. But Bobby Anderson's been in the pits for 13 minutes taking repairs. Skip Gandy for about 8 minutes. He's been banging away at it. But guys like Paul Williams, Telez, Walden, they're back out after extensive repairs. Going to try and pick up a few of the spots here at the end. Zemke is 12 laps down. He's got 12 and a half minutes of repairs that he finished up. He's back out in 28th. He could have something. We've only got, of 39 starters, half the field left on the lead lap. Actually, it might be less than that at this point. Yeah, because I'm seeing some that it looks like they're going to go a lap down. Hogg, McDonald's, Papineau potentially when the drivers come back around here.
Yeah, we really will. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how everything shakes out in terms of those drivers on the lead lap, Joe. But things that we continue to learn here is that outside line on the restarts looks very, very strong.
Yeah, it seems like you want to get yourself into that position and then try and ride it from there. We're starting to get up on the tires, but very little of it has been green flag racing. About 20 laps since they've taken fresh rubber underneath them. But I'm starting to think the way that this is going, 22 laps left, they got to be good on fuel, DJ. At this point, I don't go in for anything.
No, we have seen track position be absolutely crucial and absolutely king around here, so I do not think you try to dive in, especially with these leaders. We've seen a little bit of shaking from them, a little bit of bobbling here and there, but for the most part, they've been able to keep these cars relatively pointed the same way, so I don't think you give up that track position for anything, Joe.
Yeah, the only way I see that could be a good idea is those at the tail end of the lead lap who want to take a gamble on one of these cautions, hoping will stay green and they can charge their way forward at the end and catch the leaders with their pants down. But again, that's going to be a big gamble. If you're at the front, there is no reason to come in on these because it's been just yellow after yellow here today. And in fact, we're still waiting for the lights out on the pace car. We haven't doubled up yet, so I think we're going to get that this time by Regan. Just chilling behind the iRacing pace car. Let's watch and see if they turn them out. Yes, they do. Here we go. Restarting on lap 83.
Okay, on lap 83 with about 21 minutes here to go left in this race. We've talked about that high line being pretty king around here on these restarts, looking very, very strong. It's caught a couple of people out, and now we have Cody Evanson starting to the outside. What is that going to do?
If they go green from here, it's going to be about 40 of them. So it's still going to be a decent run if they do wind up going from here. But not expecting that necessarily. Just it'll throw a complete wrench in everybody's plans, I'm sure, if we manage to keep it under regular race pace. The iRacing pace car now taking them into turn 3. And if you didn't follow the history of this track, that used to be turn 1, actually. I always remember seeing that little yellow building on the outside of it in the NASCAR Racing 1 and 2 games way back in the 90s when I raced those. And it was in its old oval format. Pace car is in. And Richard Regan Jr. with a great start. What about Cody Evanson? Looks like he is going to try and take advantage here as Acosta wants to try and prevent him from getting into his valued second spot. Acosta's been there for so much of this race. He's been making it his home. Behind him, James O'Brien watching as the two continue to race side by side down into turn 3. Neither really finding an advantage at this point.
No, both of them are running pretty neck and neck there, although Evanson did look a little bit wobbly and looking even more wobbly coming out of the corner. I think he had to lift out of that, and that is going to give that position back over to Abner Acosta.
Extremely lucky they did not make contact there. That would have been a big wreck, and the whole field would have been coming down on them. But they stay green, they stay golden. Oh, but now we get another spin behind them. Cars unable to hold it out as Dustin Griffiths looks like might be a lone car. No, a few others that are getting caught up, but I don't think too badly. He had some contact with Clayton Ham. Ham got the worst of it. He got smacked into the wall, just squeezed in there. Everybody else behind. So only 2 cars involved, and that we got away pretty well. Here's the hit. Ugh.
You've really got to feel sorry there for Clayton Ham. Absolutely no fault of his own and just positively clobbered by that.
You know, we said we're not sure if people are going to be able to get to that 24 incident limit. I'm starting to second guess that. I think we might actually get some cars disappearing here today, the way this is going.
You very well may be right, Joe. A lot of incidents getting racked up here, a lot of yellow flag running, and yeah, we may see some cars going by the wayside here pretty soon.
Yeah, Dustin Griffiths then naturally takes it down pit lane to try and see if he can get it in condition to race again before this is over with. We're less than 18 minutes on the clock now. Still, Richard Regan Jr. has been unwilling to give up the grasp on that lead spot. What can Acosta do from here on these restarts? Is there anything that he can do to try and position himself well to actually be able to attack Regan? They're on the same setup because of that fixed setup, so really nothing there that he can hope for. But I mean, where he can place his car, or can he work with somebody? What can he do?
I mean, he's basically just got to hope that he can be able to hold into the back of him and get a really, really good slingshot, because as of right now, Joe, I don't have an answer. I don't think there's anything he can do unless he forces Regan into a mistake.
Good luck doing that. Richard Regan Jr. is not often intimidated here in the PRL Cup Series. So the 56 is probably going to stay cool, although you never know. Maybe Acosta can get him to give a little bobble or just brush the wall at some stage during this race. So getting close now to about 30 laps that they could complete under green. We're only on lap 86, getting ready to turn over to lap 87. So at least we passed the halfway point in terms of what should have been the number of laps. And we still have the lights on the pace car, so we'll take 2 more laps around at this stage. They're not quite ready yet. I know you see a couple of them looking like they want to go double file, but we've got to wait just a little bit longer before we can get back in action here. Let's see, have we lost any other drivers during this time? Not seeing any new ones showing up on my sheet.
No, nor am I, Joe, but the list of walking wounded continues to grow here, and still only have, it looks like, about 18 cars on the lead lap as of about right now.
The one thing that's probably frustrating for these drivers themselves is for those that are a lap or multiple laps down, they want to be taking positions from those that have wrecked out in front of them, but I see, like, for example, Josh Tellez, Paul Williams, they've still got multiple laps to go to overtake a couple cars in front of them. And the more cautions we have, the slower going it's going to be to be able to make up those spots. So they could have been higher up the order by now if we could just get this race going.
Yeah, exactly. They've got room to make up, and it's got to be very frustrating for them to try to get back to do this, but very, very tough. Waiting there. I think the lights are off, and indeed, we do go double file here.
Yep, lights are out. And hearing from Ham that he might be done. Oh, maybe not. Actually, is he out there still? Double checking. Yeah, he is out there. Okay, he's just getting some information from other drivers around him to see what the damage looks like. I will say, I am among those that agrees that there needs to be the iRacing spotter able to kind of describe damage to you, just to kind of tell you what's up, because you would have that in real life to be able to be more aware of the status of your car.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Joe. It's one of those things that even some of the third-party apps that a lot of folks use, it's not there. It's sort of the one thing that is missing to complete everything.
Certainly would help you be able to judge if it's worth coming in or get repairs. As the pace car is in, green flag is out. Regan keeps everybody on their toes and nobody able to challenge him down into the first corner. Acosta, is he going to try and cover off Evanson? Yes, he is, but look to the high side. O'Brien might be able to slingshot his way past. He has had a brush with the wall recently. This time, not so. Behind them, they're going single file almost all the way down through the field.
Indeed, they are. A little bit of fanning out there through the corners, but I think everybody just trying to tiptoe around here and just nurse these cars to the end as they really start to struggle here and continue to struggle.
All right, we got one lap under green this time. Let's see if we can keep this up all the way off of 2. Side by side for third. Goes to the 33. Evanson just not able to keep up. Back there down at the bottom, that is Pat Harvey in the 67, racing for 5th position with Josh Daniels.
My goodness, Pat Harvey doing a great job to be able to work his way back up through the field. Remember, he started all the way up in P5, and now to see where he is now, very, very impressive run as he has sort of yo-yoed up and down through the field.
Yeah, just cannot give up in a race like this. You don't know what's going to happen. Somebody looked like they almost lost control. That was Brandon Walker. So the 99 is able to pull it back to the racing line, but looked like he was a little out of sorts for a moment. Back up towards the front. Some side by side between Hudson and Dinkle. This is for 7th position.
Yeah, and that's going to be Dinkle trying to dive the car down into the corner a little bit more. Looking right behind them is Ryan Goodell, seeing if he can pick up any pieces if things go wrong here. Hudson fighting the car a little bit. Oh, that is Evanson down to the inside.
He holds on to it, though. I don't think he hit the inside wall, and he keeps it rolling. No caution. He's back up to speed, but he's in 14th position.
Oh, and that is heartbreak there from the rookie. Let's go back and check out this replay for him. I think that infamous turn 2 just lost it, but my goodness, what a catch.
He was perpendicular to the track. That's unbelievable stuff. Tires are going to be massively overheated here, but let's watch from on board. Ooh, got a little bit of help from the 33 there. Car was already loose, just gave him a nudge the rest of the way around. And let's not forget that the aero on these cars do work much like the real ones too. I wonder if he took some of the air off the rear of that machine and that just hurt him.
That very well could be the case there, Joe, as that's definitely caught him out there as we've got a car starting to dive down to the inside a little bit more, but our leaders all just running single file here. Dinkle trying to work his way, working on Pat Harvey right now.
Yep, so that's now become the battle for 5th between Harvey and Dinkle instead. And as they fly across the start-finish line, lap 95, looks like we should be able to at least tick over 100 laps in this race. And coming up around turns 1 and 2, Dinkle just trying to get himself the launch off the corner. He's been trying this for a couple laps now. Can't seem to get enough of a launch. As we look at the 5 up ahead, right in behind Richard Regan Jr. This has been his race in that 56. Haven't seen him really put a foot wrong. And back to Dinkle once again in the 9. This time he's got some overlap.
Yes, he does, and I think he's able to try to get it, but there's a little bit of a checkup that he's got to get because of Joshua Daniels in front of him. He's going to try to carry that momentum, and Dinkle's got it done.
Up to P5 for Trent now. That is up from 28th position. Very nicely done from him. Again, not giving up, just making sure to stick with it all the way to the checkered flag. if he can. Crossing the start-finish line, Richard Regan Jr. Finally seen some green flag racing here. 31 5s and 4s that we're seeing. Highly unlikely that we'll get pit stops from here because there's only 9 minutes left on the clock right now.
Yeah, indeed, only 9 minutes, probably about 20 laps or so to go if we stay green.
As behind them, a little bit of fanning out once again. Pat Harvey ahead of Chris Hudson. Ryan Goodell, 14's been full of adventure today. Somehow is still in the hunt and still in the top 10. He's going to see if he can make it 7th ahead of Hudson. Papineau still behind them as well, trying to challenge. And nope, looks like slipping back a little bit. Goodell unable to overtake Chris Hudson.
Yeah, Hudson's been driving a pretty good race. Obviously, he's down 3 positions from his starting spot, but he has seemed to always sort of be in contention there. Papineau starting to look a little bit aggressive, though, coming to the outside here of Ryan Goodell, seeing if there's anything to be had.
Yeah, I'd watch out for Josh Daniels right now because he's getting very close to the rear bumper of the 33. And I feel like that could be a move if he gets a whiff of an opportunity. Meanwhile, we watch from Daniels' perspective, just over the dash, up ahead at the private label car. They're sitting on the podium. What did we say before about James O'Brien at the start of this broadcast? Just consistency is unbelievable for that 33 machine. Started from 6, so it's not huge gains, but even though he hasn't looked like he's had the car to win today, DJ, he's made the best of what he's had.
Well, and that is the kind of thing that makes championships, Joe, as that is the way to be able to get yourself forward, put yourself in a position to just maximize points.
7 minutes left, so we're looking at about 14 laps from here. This is getting down to the wire now. If we see some moves, likely going to see them soon. For anybody willing to risk it at this stage, there's been so many drivers having trouble keeping the cars pointed forward. I wonder if some are too timid to make moves by now.
I think that certainly could be part of it. A lot of these drivers up front, they do not want to make a move here and risk throwing away what could be a good race. Abner Acosta, though, starting to look a little bit racy finally with Richard Regan Jr. Could we see a pass for the lead in these closing 7 minutes?
Yeah, this is Acosta trying to bring the fight to the 56. Wow, they have stretched away from O'Brien. It is a full 0.6 of a second down to P3. I'm guessing they are free to fight, and he pulls up on him very fast. Does not try and make the move, but I am almost certain that Richard saw that in the mirror and how fast he approached.
Indeed, Regan Jr. is going to know that it is going to be coming on, and we've got a little bit of lap traffic. That's Skip Gandy directly in front of them. Gandy dives down to the apron, gives the leader space, riding on board now with your leader, Richard Regan Jr. Look at how he's just keeping his eyes ahead. He's not looking behind. Maybe a little glance there as they go down the backstretch.
Well, judging by what's joining him, his drinks bottle is not going to be running out in this race as they fly through turns 3 and 4. Acosta has just been sitting there, been holding on, even if he's not been in second place, third, fourth, fifth spot this entire race. Has he been waiting? Has he been saving his stuff until now? And is this Abner Acosta finally unleashing the little bits that have been left over in the tank?
It could be. He's got a pretty good run here. He's got to check himself up a little bit. He's just got to time this absolutely perfectly, Joe. Be able to get on the throttle at the right part of the corner. You see him diving a little bit lower, trying to keep up the speed as much as he can as they cross through the quad oval.
5 minutes left now. Looking at about 10 laps to go. And we're hearing they're talking to some of the lapped cars, letting them know to get out of the way. With this being such a close battle for the lead here at the end, wanting them not to interrupt this fight. Moving to the high side. Acosta starting to try some different things. Regan starts down low, drifts back up all the way out to the fencing and across the line. Lap 106 now amongst these two. Look at the speed on the front stretch for Acosta. I think he's setting them up.
I think he is too, and he's going to take a look down to the inside here, running off the corner, trying to run a little bit of a high-low. Is he going to have the speed? No, but he's going to be able to tuck back up behind in the draft.
Abner Acosta last season did not finish things off too great. He did have a lot of wins. I said he didn't look all that dominant. He had the most of anybody, 3 wins last season, just had atrociously bad luck and was not able to attend 2 of the last 3 rounds. So is this him coming back and saying, I am going to try and finally take this Cup championship? Looks like we got a fight between Josh Daniels and Pat Harvey, but Harvey's going to lose out on that one and down to the inside. Now we got an attack for the lead. He manages to get underneath him, but can he finish the job?
He's going to try to hold it, but that momentum is going to hold up on the high side for Richard Regan Jr. They be able to get their way through the quad oval now. Looks like Abner had maybe alongside that quarter panel, but he's not going to be able to get it done. Has to fall back into line.
And with only 3.5 minutes left on the clock now, he's got to be thinking, if a yellow comes out, that's race over. I have to have this track position for these final few laps. Once again, he gets a run, but this time he's not able to get underneath the 56. He rides all the way up high. He is trying to square off this corner to launch himself, but it doesn't look to work.
No, he's not able to get that grip, that bite from those front tires there. It just doesn't look like he's got it. Abner's been saving his stuff all day, but with as hot as this Atlanta track is, it just doesn't look like it's enough.
Down the back stretch. This time, not seeing the same monster run out of that yellow number 5. And coming onto turns 3 and 4. Has he used up his stuff? Was that the few attempts that he had in him to try and make an attack, and he's looking a little bit loose this time?
Yeah, looking a little bit squirrely there, and he's just got to try to hold on here. Only about 2.5 minutes to go. Seeing what he can do. He's letting that car run up very, very high now.
But so is Richard Regan Jr. He's starting to match him. What works for Abner works for me, says the 56. And we are down to 2 minutes to go at the line. That's going to be about 4 laps that these drivers can run.
Exactly, and they are going to know that it is coming down to push, comes to shove time. Acosta trying to get the run the best that he can. Is he going to be able to do this?
Still taking it just that little bit higher, about a lane or half a lane up from Richard Regan Jr. Doing something different, hoping that it'll give him the edge, and it is bringing him in close, but Acosta has not been able to get wheel to wheel with Richard Regan Jr. since a few laps ago at his best 2 attempts that we had seen before. Along the front stretch, 1:30 on the clock now.
Oh, not too much time left here. Acosta trying. Oh, right up next to the wall.
So it's about 32-second laps here. So this is going to be tight on where exactly we're going to finish. It'll depend here when we come to the line what we're going to see. So 1:04 seconds or less. That's going to be 2 laps. More than that, it's going to be 3 laps. Oh, it's going to be so close. They're crossing right at 1:04 left. Take your best pick. This could be 4. This could be 3.
It's going to be very, very tight no matter what way it comes down to. And Acosta will know that. He is trying to drive every line he can off of that corner. A little bit more lap traffic up ahead of him, though.
They've been out on these tires for 51 laps. Yes, they've been tremendously under caution, but they're still wearing them out, and they have got to be starting to give up the ghost as they come to the line. 32 seconds on the clock as they cross. That last lap was a 32.1. Is this the last lap, or will they get one more?
I think they're going to get one more potentially, Joe, as I'm not seeing any indication from Barney or anything else on my timing and scoring that this is the final lap.
Yep, you're right. He has not pulled it out yet. So as the 56 leads them, they come down to Barney the flagman. 5, 4, 3, 2. There's the white flag. He's not changing it to a checker, so we have 1 to go. And they've got a bunch of traffic in front of them as well. Regan still leads. He rides the high side, but the extreme high side to Abner Acosta. He really likes hitting that bubble on the outside. We watch the onboard of Richard Regan Jr. Can he stay calm? Where are the lap cars going to put themselves as they come down and around turns 3 and 4? Not enough in it, and in fact almost a spin from Acosta as Richard Regan Jr. takes the win in the opening round.
A great dominant performance there from Richard Regan Jr., surviving through all of those cautions, just getting himself where he needs to be. This is a great run for the 56.
He kept going for a while too. I wonder if he wasn't sure if that was the last lap, and a little bit of a love tap from his rival Abner Acosta, giving him a good job. So fantastic stuff there from Richard Regan Jr. Almost never looked like he was going to lose this one. There was a few times that Acosta threatened, but just couldn't do enough to get the track position away from him. And that Camry is going to celebrate with a little bit of donuts along the front stretch while we take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Come back soon, or don't go away, actually, if anything, as we are going to return with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. The opening round of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series was a little bit caution-filled, but Richard Regan Jr. brought us to a green finish, from third on the grid to a victory, as Abner Acosta was behind by about half a second, but he pressured him at the end. Josh Daniels was P3 after starting on pole, in the reverse of Regan's fortunes, as James O'Brien gets a valuable fourth, current champion, at least bringing it in with a top 5. Chris Hudson was the last of those top 5. You've got Pat Harvey in 6th, with Goodell qualifying qualified 20th, and this is legitimate. He set a time and finished 7th. Trent Dinkle, though, did not set a time, went from 28th to 8th. Eric Papineau finished exactly where he started in 9th position, and Brandon Walter on the front row had to settle for 10th.
In 11th, it was first-time entrant Cody Evanson, followed by Mike Witt and Baron Glover. Jason Larson was behind them, and Tom Massey came home in 15th. Clayton Ham was 16th, followed by Jose Medina and Eric Haig, your last driver on the lead lap, coming home in 18th. Byron McDonald was 19th, and Luke Christian 20th, both a lap down.
2 laps down for Dan McLaren in 21st, 4 laps down for Barry Leclerc, P22. Charles Sumner saw the checkered flag in 23rd, 7 laps down. He ran into a big bit of trouble. So did Kalen in 24th, and Corey Precker in 25th, 8 laps down for him. Kerry Graves was 26, 14 laps down, but he did finish, repaired it and got back out there. So did Walden in 27th, 17 laps down. But from there on down, you get to mostly DNFs with a few that scampered home with supremely damaged cars, unfortunately. It looks like we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Richard Regan Jr., who got to the front and then did not look back from there, other than losing it to a little bit of pit stop strategy at one point, which didn't last long. Richard, we saw you look like you had pretty good control of this race for much of it, except at the end when suddenly Acosta started to go on the attack. Did you feel like he had something for you? Did you feel pretty confident that you could rebuff him?
I mean, it was a good race. He definitely had my number here and there, but the biggest thing for me was just, keep the wheel smooth and keep my input smooth and keep them saving the tire. I knew that if on that last restart, if we went green, we would have a decent run. So, I just needed to protect my my spot and not burn up the tires.
We saw a lot of cautions, and many of them were due to drivers just spinning on their own. This is a different engine setup for the car compared to last time we visited here for the next gen. Do you feel like it's the extra power that did it, or was it just all the heat that we saw on the track? Because it was up to 106 at one point.
I mean, it's definitely a combination of both. The track definitely was hot, so, if you got a little too throttle happy off the corner, you're definitely going to spin. But, yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad, honestly. As long as you were patient with the throttle, you would have been fine.
Now, I understand that you're running the trucks as well. Are you going for a championship or one or the other, or is it attempting both this season?
Well, I'm actually running trucks, and then on Monday nights here on GSRC, I'm also running the MX-5 series, so I'm going to try to go for a championship in all 3 series this season. I'm new to the Miata, but I'm pretty confident in the truck. I have good success in the past with the truck, so that's definitely going to be a good run over there, and hopefully we keep having a good run in the Cup car and in the Miata.
I like that ambition. Is there anybody you want to thank for today's win?
Yeah, I got to give a huge shout out to Jay-Z Photography for coming on board this season. They have a Facebook. It's literally called Jay-Z Photography. If you need any iRacing screenshots, message him. Tell him that Richard Regan sent you over from GSRC. Also, shout out to Neonism. Need a paint, go to facebook.com/neonism. Tell them Richard sent you. We get you hooked up with a nice paint. Oculus glasses for giving me the blue light glasses. VR cover for sending me new covers for my VR headset every now and then. Everyone at GSRC and at PRL.
Thank you very much. That was our winner, Richard Regan Jr. in the number 56, taking the victory. Up next, DJ's caught up with Abner Acosta, who followed him home in second.
I have indeed. Abner, so close there at the end. Just how hard were you pushed to try to get Richard?
Hello, guys. Good evening. Yeah, it's just I was definitely trying to get him, but this track is kind of hard to pass on the inside, so it's pretty much if he didn't make a mistake there, it was just going to be really tough, or somehow get on his outside. But yeah, a good finish for us overall. So happy with a second for sure.
Well, talk to me a little bit about, you were making some moves there earlier in the race, obviously up 5 positions to get yourself forward. How aggressive were you being, knowing just how slippery and hot this track is?
To be honest, I was taking it super easy the whole race. I was pretty much kind of waiting for, well, at the very beginning for a long run, but then we had so many cautions. I was just trying to be easy on the tires to have a shot at the end, but I guess that didn't work out. I did pick up some damage as well with Cody there a little bit, but yeah, I was just taking it easy, just maybe trying to get a long run, but as you guys saw, we never got to that.
Yeah, indeed. What was kind of your mentality coming through a lot of those yellows? Were you able to keep everything kind of contained, or was there a little bit of frustration starting to come through?
Oh, there was definitely a lot of frustration, just because, especially starting I started a lot of those restart second, and it's kind of hard to kind of get a good restart there. I think in the first lap or two, the inside's strong, but then the outside comes in. So if you don't get a good restart, I know James got by me a couple times on the restart. So I was just trying to hold my position and then just get to the end and just get a good finish. On the other seasons, I've been getting really bad starts and using my drop week early. So I'm just trying to get top fives, and I know that wins will come for sure.
Well, I'm sure they will, my friend. But for today, a second place, anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody at Private Label Team Hype, Ethica, everybody at in the pit wall, pretty much Ty, Tommy, everybody in the race, Trent, Josh, James, and everybody just helps out with lines or during the race, just the strategy and all that. And GSRC, you guys for broadcasting, and PRL for hosting the league.
Well, thank you so much, Abner, and congratulations once again on a second.
Thank you. Have a good night.
That was Abner Acosta, your second place finisher here today. And now, Joe, I believe you've caught up with Joshua Daniels, our third place finisher.
Yeah, Josh somehow managing to find his way back up to third, but you started in the front and then you lost that lead pretty quickly. Did you feel like that was kind of what your pace merited back there just in the middle of the top 10? Because it didn't seem like you really hassled the front after you stepped out of the top spot.
Yes, shortly after the race started, my pedals, I have a load cell, and sometimes when the temperature drops down, it'll start hanging the brake a little bit, and I was riding around with about 1% brake, and I couldn't do anything about it.
Oh, well, that is... Sorry, go ahead.
But it may have helped me save my tires there at the end, because I wasn't able to go full speed, maybe.
I guess a blessing in disguise in a way. It had to be extremely frustrating. So third place probably feels like a victory considering what you were dealing with. You just missed out on the championship last time over O'Brien, and you managed to finish ahead of him here at the first race. Does that seem like a good sign to you?
Oh, yeah, man. That's always good to finish in front of O'Brien. He's always running good. Even when he runs bad, he runs good, so finishing in front of him is kind of a win in its own, Cody and all the guys, Jose and Carlos, they all helped me running laps this week. We all come up with some pretty good lines that we all like to run, and I just felt like, the high line for me worked, and some guys, they passed me low, but I just didn't want to go down there. I felt like my tires just got torn up every time I tried to run the bottom, so I just kept it up high, and I was hoping that we'd get a long run like we did there and turn out in my favor.
And that it did. Yeah, you mentioned the consistency from James, the way he just keeps coming back, even on bad days. He only had a single win last season. So what do you do this season to try and combat that? Have you found something a little more that you feel like you can, outscore him more often or take more wins? Or what's your goal?
I wish I had one. I just try as hard as I can, and I make as many open races that I could possibly make. And, I just hope by the time Sunday comes along that I've figured out what I need to do, because sometimes I miss it. And, but I never work any less. I just hope I can carry this on to the next track and keep it going,
That seems fair enough to me. Well, again, congratulations on a podium. It's been a bit of a David versus Goliath with all those private label guys and this one Love Racing car. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped put that Love Racing car into the podium this time?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my wife for all her support, and I'd like to thank James Dewar and Black Acid for supplying this pretty paint that you guys see on there. And all the guys, from Love Racing that, we were running private sessions and everybody showed up and helped. And I think we all got faster. It was fun. I had a good week. And I'd like to thank the GSRC and the PRL for putting on a good show.
Thank you very much. That was Josh Daniels, who came home third here today at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That's going to wrap us up. But before we go, I want to thank our sponsors, of course, ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. You can visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Also, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie, as well as help behind the scenes, of course, from Nick Hunter. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com. There's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race is going to be Circuit of the Americas, so immediately off to a road course on Sunday, March 27th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.